Good evening, everyone. This is the September 17th meeting of the Revere City Council. Would everyone please rise to salute the flag?
Roll call of the members. Councilor Guanasso.
Here.
Here. Councilor Keefe.
Here.
Here. Councilor McKenna.
Here.
Here. Councilor Morbido.
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky.
Here.
Here. Councilor Patch.
Here.
Here. Councilor Powers.
Here.
Here. Councilor Rizzo.
Here.
Here. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambudo.
Here.
Here. And Council President Janino.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present.
At this time, I'm just going to ask for a point of personal privilege. I want to start the meeting by offering a moment of silence to the Revere resident that lost his life over this past weekend. A gentleman, Arthur Medici, was the first victim of a shark attack in the state of Massachusetts in over 80 years. And he was a Revere resident, and his family is all still in the city mourning, so our thoughts are with them during this very difficult time. Thank you. And while I'm under this point, I also want to take a moment to thank the Revere Fire Department for their efforts over the past few days. As many of you may know, there was a very, very bad fire in the Shirley Ave area. We're very thankful that no one was seriously injured. However, there were several firefighters that did sustain some injuries, and we want to thank them and Chief Bright for their hard work and wish them a recovery. And I'm also going to offer it up to the ward councilor, Novoselsky, who's been working tirelessly through the past couple days. So, Councilor?
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, similar to what you said, to thank Revere Fire and all our mutual aid firefighters. Several of them got injured, and the fire did reoccur this morning, so they had to come back and do some more work on it. But I would like to ask for a suspension of rules. And there's an item that just came up from the mayor about a fire relief fund. And I think it's appropriate at this time that we take this up, and I would ask that we establish this fund, make it happen. So there were approximately 38 people that were affected directly last night. I spent at Revere High School till 11 o'clock last night, helping the Red Cross do their work. I want to thank CAPIC, Bob Rapucci, for his intervention this morning, and it was just a devastating fire, and it looks like the building will have to come down. That's how bad it was. So, thinking of the people that were, put out, I saw a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old walking around with their pajamas on this morning, and that's all they had on their backs, were pure pajamas. Lucky they did go to school, and they did have some clothes for them there. But there is a call out for clothes for children and adults. People lost keys to cars, passports. So, people who wanted to go back to their country can't. And so whatever folks can do in the city and surrounding cities, whoever sees this, please reach out. There's a clothes collection, I believe, downstairs on the first floor, or there will be, and there will be GoFundMe pages set up. Please help these folks. It was not a pretty sight. So thank you for the time, and hopefully we can take out this request for the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know there are councilors that want to speak on this, so I'll call for suspension so we can bring it up and then offer councilors time to speak. So on suspension of rules, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered. Madam Clerk, what calendar item number is this?
It's a late communication from the city auditor.
So we'll take up calendar item.
It's number 38 on the
38?
new calendar.
Perfect.
Okay.
And I'll ask Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to add to the commending the Revere firefighters for responding to the Lawrence Andover and North Andover gas explosion. They were also up there and participated. So I'd just like to commend them for that, too. Thank you.
Great point, Counselor. Any counselors have any commentary on this relief fund? So the point of this, and I'll allow Mr. Viscaya to speak, but just the summary is they want to open up a fund so that we can accept donations to assist the people that were affected by this fire. Yeah, do you want to say anything else, or think that covers it?
No, I just wanted to, Rich Viscaya, City Auditor, just wanted to clarify that if the city chooses to set up a donation account for any particular purpose, it's this body that okays that. So that's why that motion is before you, and I'm here to answer any questions in regard to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Viscaya. Anybody have any questions?
Madam President?
Counselor?
So I just have, I guess, one basic question, because as you may recall, back in 2014, we had set up a tornado relief fund, and that was a 501c3 that we actually had, our congressional delegation help us with to speed that process through, because we were not aware of another avenue unless it was something different. Like this was done similar to the way the One Fund was created. In fact, we met with the administrator of the One Fund to get an idea of how to set up this tornado relief fund. How will this differ from a 501c3? Will there be a process as to distribution of funds, or what is going to be the mechanism to distribute any type of funding that would be attributable to this particular fund? And will there be oversight? Who will oversee it, and so on? Can you explain that?
Yeah, sure, Counselor. I can't speak too much of the 2014 tornado fund, but 501c3s are usually set up by private, like a Friends of the Library, or this particular case of tornado relief. And 501c3s would be separate. And the way I've always addressed it is that if that's handled by other bodies other than the city, then they would account for that money and spend that money however those rules and laws apply. But anything that comes through this body, through the city's general ledger, we have to apply the Mass General laws. So Chapter 44, Section 53A allow this body to accept gifts for certain purposes. Now, if there was a gift that was given to the city and it was something that we really didn't care to take the gift for, then you would refuse to set up that account and we wouldn't just use that at all. But as long as it's on the city's ledger, we'll administer it just like we administer any other funds in the city or town. It would go through a warrant process. It'd be signed off by the mayor as the authority of that gift fund, and we would process any revenues in and expenditures out just like we would any special revenue account. We would just adhere to the rules that you would adopt. But for this, it's just donations that are for victims of fires in the city. I wrote it pretty quickly and briefly, but the idea is that donations would come in for those who have been displaced by a fire. Not just this particular fire, but this gift fund could live on and be used for subsequent fires. But we'd administer that in the city because it's through the city's ledger and it's adopted through the city council.
Okay, I just wanted to, we had some real, we had a whole committee. We had the former district attorney in Middlesex County who presided over that account, along with the former head chief probation officer for the state of Massachusetts and so on. We had, people that would oversee this to make sure that people, that the process worked and that any money that was, that people were generous enough to give went to the right places. And I think that's the concern that I have. Of course, we want to help these people, absolutely. But, my question, really centered around oversight and, just, a warrant. Well, that's great. And of course, if you're going to put money in a city account, that's the way that it's going to be released. But I think my question was more around, making sure that, that people who ultimately contribute to this fund know that their funding is going for the right reasons to the right people at, for the right, that there was some sort of a process in place, not just a conduit to accept money. I would be hopeful that there will be some sort of process that you're going to use to, whether it's, this tragedy or anyone down the road, that there's going to be a process in place that this is how it's going to work. And when we release funds that, as I say, people, whether it's members of our community, members of the business community, members outside our community are generous enough to donate to, that they'll know that those contributions are being spent wisely and in the best interest of the fund. So that's, I think, the reason we chose to go a 501c3 back at that time. I'm not suggesting that we don't do this, and I'll support it, but I just want to be sure that there is a process in place so that, it's all being spent for the right reasons and the right things are being done. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilor Zambudo.
Councilor Rizzo had a lot of great concerns, and I remember that when that fund was set up. However, in the interest of emergency, I think that this is probably the best course of action to take. So I'm going to support this, even though I just found out about it a couple minutes ago. So I'm certainly hoping we can get this done. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors? Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Shall the City Council approve the establishment of a donation account in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A, for the purpose of addressing the needs of displaced residents due to fire? Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morbido?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rizzo?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Janino?
Yes.
Yes, the account has been established.
This time we'll return to the regular order of business. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
In accordance with Rule 23 of the City Council Rules of Order, the following motions or communications are being reported out of committee with a recommendation to be placed on file. Calendar item number 3, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the City of Revere work with MGH, Cambridge Health Alliance, and North Suffolk Mental Health to conduct a community health assessment.
There are no objections. This will be placed on file.
Calendar item number 4, communication from the mayor relative to the reappointment of Menino Construction Company, Inc. as a licensed drain layer.
Placed on file.
Calendar item number 5, communication from the mayor relative to the Revere Police Organizational Review.
Madam President,
Councilor?
I'd like this to remain in committee, please.
Remain in committee.
Calendar item number 6, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor request the fire chief to have an ambulance stationed at the Point of Pines Fire Station.
Placed on file.
Legislative Affairs Committee report.
Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Madam President. As we all know, the Legislative Affairs Committee met this evening at 5 o'clock to discuss several items of note. The first, an ordinance relative to abandoned bicycles has been restructured and is now being asked to go out to a public hearing. So I would ask that the body as a whole support that. And the motion by Council Novoselsky relative to property address reassignments has been resolved in a way that suits all parties, and in short, that the addresses will not be changed until the properties are sold. That's recommended to be approved by the body. And an ordinance prohibiting disposal of plastic bags was discussed and rediscussed, and it's remained in committee, and we'll address it at the next Legislative Affairs Subcommittee. And item 18102 is to be combined with the Zoning Committee motion. Thank you.
All right, so we'll start at the top. So 1836, oh, I'm sorry, 1811 will be referred to a public hearing. So that'll be referred to a public hearing on October 29th. Next, we have Counselor Novoselsky's motion, 22. So that would be placed on file. 36 will stay in committee. 37 will stay in committee. 69, committee. And 102 will be combined with zoning. And 159, committee. All right. And 233, committee? I thought that got passed as well. Councilor Zambudo, did 233 get passed during the last committee meeting?
Not to my knowledge, but
That's correct, Councilor McKenna. That was a public hearing we had on it. So that'll remain in committee as well. Councilor Rotundo is absent, so I ask that we hold the zoning subcommittee report, and we'll take that up later. So we'll move on to communications.
Communications, calendar item number 18, communication from Capital Environment LLC relative to Mass DEP RTN 3-31138 at 135 American Legion Highway, Lot 1B.
Any councilors? No? Counselor?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, what does this directly affect, or what was it for that it came to us?
Sorry, what was that?
Why did this come to us?
Does
Just as an
anyone-
FYI, is it have to do with the leak that they had there? I don't know, Madam Clerk.
Sure, I actually read the communication because I wasn't sure myself. And basically, the communication is asking that the city council grant a waiver of a 30-day waiting period to record the activity and use limitation filing.
So there's really no action to be taken on this. We can place it on file, but I'm not sure what else there is for this body to do on this motion.
Who would we refer it to for guidance?
I believe the 30 days is actually, would be up soon. It's 30 days from the date of the,
we have the Conservation Commission Chair.
Welcome,
Nick.
sir.
Hi, guys, girls, counselors. I actually received a letter in the mail from this company to waive the 30-day, and I was actually going to bring it up to look into it tomorrow and figure out to send it back or not, whether to waive the 30 days or wait the 30-day period. So I guess this is something that I need to sign off on tomorrow, look into it and get it signed off. Or not signed off, make them wait the 30 days. I just got to look into it a little bit more.
So we'll refer this to the Conservation Commission? And the next item, 287, is similar in nature. I also request that we send this to the Conservation Commission.
calendar item number 20 is communication from the mayor regarding ETP funds.
Anyone here from the city to speak on this? Anyone in the council? Ways and Means?
No, Madam Chairman, Madam President, I think this is something that we asked the mayor to do because we had to deal with the city council chamber, and he promised he would send it up today for us to vote on it. So I
Perfect.
would ask that we vote on it.
I just wasn't sure because I didn't see anyone here to speak on it, so.
Yeah.
If there's no one to speak and there are no other comments, we'll move to accept. All in favor? Oh, we'll do a roll call.
Shall the city council approve the expenditure of ETP funds in the amount of $23,125 for the city council chamber electrical and AV upgrades project? Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morbido?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rizzo?
Yes?
Yes. Councilor Rotundo is absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Janino?
Yes.
Yes, the expenditure has been approved.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Calendar item number 21, communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Landmark Utilities and Site Excavation Corporation as a licensed drain layer.
This will go to appointments if there are no other questions.
I do, Madam Chairman, just again, is liability insurance expires in October, so I want to make sure they provide a up-to-date bond
Perfect.
and
We'll have
insurance list.
the clerk request that and let the appointments chair deal with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appointments.
On to motions. Calendar item number 22, motion presented by Councilors Morabito and Keefe that the mayor conduct a feasibility study to implement LED smart crosswalks throughout the city. Further, the grant should be looked at in order to launch this smart program.
Councilor Morabito, then Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mrs. President. So I spoke to Councilor Keefe last week after Council McKenna discussed repainting the crosswalks. You know, we're moving forward as a city with technology, and I said, why not look into a feasibility study, look into smart crossing. So basically, a smart crosswalk uses a prototype that uses cameras, sensors, and computer program and a large LED. And they're based on solar power as well. So basically, they react to real-time situations. So if a kid was going to run into a street, it would appear in noticeable lighting for someone who was driving a vehicle. So doing some research, one of my concerns was in a state where we get so much snow, my concern was our snow plows and our salt tear up the road. So I looked into that, and what they do is they use a 14-inch steel case, plow-based covering. This way, plows will not affect the crosswalk. So I think this is something the mayor should look into in the future. I think it will help better the city and make the streets safer.
Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilor Morabito and I, we spoke about this. We were also at the MMA this year, and there was a lot of different traffic type of samples and prototypes that we were able to look at and talk about. Given this day and age with the level of distracted driving, I just think that it's something that we can look at. It doesn't mean it has to happen tomorrow, but kids are crossing the streets. There's lots of schools in our city, and there's a huge increase in distracted driving. People just, aimlessly texting and not paying attention. So if there's ways that we can be smarter about how we focus on the safety of our streets, then I think that we should leave no stone unturned. And I don't think that this would take much money to look into, if at all, but something that I'd like to see the city try and move forward with. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councilors? So Councilors Morabito and Keefe, would you like this to go to public safety, or would you like to? All right, this will go to public safety. At this time, I'm going to ask for suspension of rules quickly at the request of one of our colleagues. On suspension, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered. And I'm going to ask that the clerk take up calendar item number 33. Motion by Councilor Powers.
Calendar item number 33, that the Revere City Council, subject to the approval of the mayor, file special legislation for the placement of a memorial plaque in honor of a distinguished citizen of the city of Revere, Grace Hill Sinella. Said plaque should be installed in an appropriate location to be determined by the DCR near the northeast corner of the McCarthy Pavilion, across from Kelly's Roast Beef. Plaque to be inscribed as follows: Grace Hill Sinella, in honor of 42 years of faithful service to the citizens of Revere, an affectionate advocate of Revere Beach. Her time is forever, everywhere is her place. November 22nd, 1939 to June 3rd, 2018.
I'm going to start with Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Madam President. This is something that I felt was so important. This is a young lady who recently passed, who served the city for over 42 years as a paralegal in a solicitor's office. But aside from that, she was a constant down in the area down near Kelly's and the Jack Satter House. always there, communicating with the residents down there, helping residents whenever she could on different legal matters that she might have knowledge of. And she continued to give her service, even after retirement, by being down there and working with the neighborhood. So I think this is very appropriate. I know it will be referred to the legislature for legislative approval, and then subsequently to the DCR. But again, I ask my colleagues to support this. I think it's an excellent motion, and I think it's something that I, as a resident of, not only as a city councilor, but as a resident of Ward 5, felt that this was something I was compelled to submit. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. I'm going to offer it up to Councilor Rizzo, followed by Councilor Zambudo.
Well, first off, I mean, obviously, I support the motion wholeheartedly, and I would like to recognize School Committee member Fred Sinella, who is with us here tonight. You know, he knows, we know how she represented herself, not only as a employee of the city of Revere, but just what she meant to so many people across this city for so many years, and the way she carried herself, even in adversity, was something I think we could all learn from. So I wholeheartedly support it. Obviously, she's going to be missed, but her presence, I know, will be forever felt, and this is one way that we can do that. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Madam President. There's not much to add. I certainly support this wholeheartedly. She was certainly a fabric of the city and a wonderful representative of our city. So I'm thrilled that my colleague put this motion in. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Guanasso.
Thank you, Madam President. Grace Hill is certainly, Grace Hill Sinella is certainly worthy of all the praise and honor that this council could offer out to her. She was just a wonderful person. You know, I've had the pleasure of knowing her for probably over 50 years, and in all those years, I never heard her say anything bad about anybody. And she's just a person that I will miss, my wife will miss. We certainly spent many happy hours together. We shared some friendship, we shared some sorrow, we shared a lot of life that goes hand in hand, and we want to recognize Grace as a wonderful human being, and this is a very simple token of our appreciation that we offer out to Grace Hill Sinella. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Madam President. I feel the same sentiments as the rest of my fellow councilors just gave. Gracie Hill Sinella was a friend for many years, and came from a wonderful family, the Hill family, and her husband has served the city just wonderful. He's been here for a long time. She's just a wonderful person, and she fought the battle right to the end, and she deserves this wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. And if I may briefly, Councilor Morbido, then I'll go after.
Thank you. I didn't know Grace personally, as some of my colleagues did. I did have the privilege and honor to speak to her several times. Seemed like a very nice lady. And I know Fred has been by her side till the very last day, and from the the words I hear about her, I feel she is it's well-deserved.
Thank you. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Madam President. Very hard moment for all of us. We all knew Gracie and Freddie and the Hill family for many moons. We went through good times, we went through bad times. But these words of praise for her to go on this plaque are perfect. They fit her as if she was actually going to be there all the time, which this plaque will endear this location, that we can always go down and visit Gracie on Revere Beach. Perfect spot for her. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. And if I may briefly, when you think about the two families, the Hill family and the Sinella family, they're two very important threads of this community. They're two families that have such a deep sense of community service and dedication to the city of Revere. I think that this is a very, very fitting memorial, and I look forward to it, and I look forward to seeing her memory have a permanent home on Revere Beach where it belongs. If there are no other questions, I ask that we call the roll on this so we can get it to the state as soon as possible, because as we know, that can go slowly sometimes, so I think that if we can expedite it on our end, we can move this as soon as possible. Madam, would anyone else like to speak before I call the roll? Madam Clerk?
Roll call on the motion. Counselor Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. Counselor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Morabito.
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Patch.
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Powers.
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Rizzo.
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Rotundo is absent. Counselor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Janino.
Yes.
Yes, the special legislation has been approved.
Thank you. At this time, we'll return to the regular order of business. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered. Take up calendar item 23.
Calendar item number 23, motion presented by Councilor Powers, that the mayor request Verizon to remove the telephone equipment directly across from 624 Broadway. In its present condition, it serves no useful purpose to the general public. This is the second request to Verizon on this matter.
Councilor Powers?
Thank you, Madam President. I put in a motion some time ago, and apparently it fell on deaf ears with regard to Verizon. There's a stanchion there that once housed an outdoor telephone that's been there. The phone is gone. Apparently some of the kids in the area vandalized it. But the stanchion is still there that supported the phone. And I think to me, it's an eyesore. It's not in my ward, but I drive down Broadway every day and I see it, and I think it's something that is long overdue for removal. Thank you, Madam President.
Any other councilors? On the motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 24, motion presented by Councilors Rizzo and Patch, that the mayor and CDM Smith appear before the city council to discuss funding and plans for flood control and the pump station in the Festa Road area of the city. Funding for this project had been provided in 2015.
Councilor Rizzo first, and then Councilor Patch?
I'll defer to the ward councilor if that's more appropriate, or I'll speak first, whichever Councilor Patch would like. Okay. Thank you very much, Madam President. Very basic motion. There was money allocated back several years ago for some flood control down on the Festa Road area. By the time that the project was to have taken shape, I had left the mayor's office, so I'm not sure what has happened. And in all honesty, I didn't realize that the problem wasn't fixed until the last major rainstorm we had, when I received a telephone call from somebody who was being flooded down on Festa Road, and that's what prompted my conversation with Councilor Patch, who had informed me that somehow the project had fallen apart. I don't know what the reason is, whether it was logistics, whether it was finances, I'm not sure, but I think we should get to the bottom of it, because I remember back at that time, and we're going back now 3 years ago, that people in that area were promised some flood relief, and to now come to the conclusion that the flood relief was never provided really isn't good. So I'm hopeful that we can get to the bottom of it. If it's more appropriate to meet with them outside the council chambers, it's okay, down in the mayor's office, wherever. I just want to get to the bottom of it to see what we can do to get that flood protection for those people down there. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you, Madam President. I remember we spent a lot of time, there's a lot of flooding going on in the back of the, in the backyards of Festa Road and Nell Road. And we worked hard with, at the time, the superintendent, Donnie Goodwin, to come up with a plan and also to get the money, excuse me, get the money for the job. The money was proved, and it was well over 100,000. We thought we had it, a location for it, and there was some, it turned out to be some problems with the neighbors where we would have to place the pump station. We came up with another plan that would put the water by gravity without a pump station going to Nell Road. And we had that all set. And again, we had a problem with some neighbors. So it just, we just didn't know what, at that time, I just didn't know what to do. Donnie Goodwin was also a little unhappy, but, you know, we had some success getting, we got the money. We had it all set up twice, and we just couldn't get it done. And now I also got the phone call from a neighbor on Festa Road, and she wasn't there at the time. She moved into the neighborhood. And I tried to explain to her that the trouble that we did go through trying to get that done. I would hope that we could work along with the new head of the water department and the engineers and come up with a plan that will make all the neighbors there happy. It was a good motion. I'm glad it's up again, and I don't know if the money is still in the appropriated. We certainly didn't use it, so I hope it's still there, and maybe we can work out something with the administration. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor, and I'd like to see this come before the council as soon as possible. So if there are no other counselors, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 25, motion presented by Councilors Rizzo, Guanasso, and Patch, that the mayor request the Public Works Department to restripe Charger Street extension between Squire Road and Ward Street.
Who wants to kick this one off? Counselor Guanasso, and then we'll just go right down the line.
Well, I'm going to add on in this particular motion based on the fact that, you know, it isn't portion in my ward, to share it with my brother from Ward 6, and certainly we share it with Councilor Rizzo. It's a concern based on the fact that it's a heavily traversed area, and without proper stripping, cars are going in all directions. So it's very important that we send someone down there and get that stripped as soon as possible in the order of public safety. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Counselor Batch.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, as Councilor Granasso said, he's got one side of the street, I got the other side. And I'm glad that Councilor Rizzo put this motion, got this motion together with us so we could fix the problem there. It's really, sometimes you don't know which way to go down on that road. I know there's been a few accidents, and this should be done sooner than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Both Council Guanasso and Councilor Patch have really said it all. It's a serious public safety issue. If there was anything that we could amend, it's that this is expedited because it is a real significant problem. As we all know, you know, Market Basket, maybe some people don't know, they generate 45,000 people a week in and out of there. So It's a very busy place, not to mention Ward Street, people going to BJ's, down to those businesses, Public Works. It's a highly traveled area, and there literally is no striping at all down there. So cars, it's like a free-for-all. And so I really think that, this could have been something, that, maybe could have been done with a phone call, but I think what I wanted to do is memorialize it so that this gets done and that it, is maintained, because there are a significant amount of foot traffic and vehicular traffic that use this area. Thank you, Madam President.
Any other counselors? On the motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered. We'll hold Counselor Rotundo's motions, if he's not here, until the next meeting.
Calendar item number 27, motion presented by Councilor McKenna, that the mayor request all local businesses that provide shopping carts for their customers to install locking devices on the shopping carts to ensure the shopping carts are not removed from the business's property. Abandoned shopping carts are a major blight on our neighborhoods.
Council Vice President McKenna.
Thank you, Madam President. This is my third motion. I put this in 3 years, I've put in 3 motions. 6 months ago, I put in that businesses should be fined $25 a cart if it's left over for 24 hours. A little bit that lessened, and we didn't see too many carts around. Now it's getting to be a problem again. So some of the places like Home Depot, they do have these locking devices on the wheels that you can't take them out of the parking lot. And I would ask the mayor if he could suggest that the businesses do the same. Stop and Shop's notorious for this, Big Lots, Target. So you're starting to see these carts everywhere, and what's happening is people are putting their trash in there. So they're left on a corner for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, and it's full of trash. So we have to do something. And I'm just asking the council if they would support this. Thank you.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Madam President. I support this motion wholeheartedly, and I think there's another aspect to it, too. I was down on Sachem Street about 2 weeks ago at the Eastern County ditch, and there are no less than 3 shopping carts in that ditch, which heavy rainstorm impede the flow of water from the neighborhoods down there out through that ditch, which, by the way, is we're working on getting that cleaned now, and hopefully it'll be fall and early spring we'll be working on it. However, these shopping carts are easily identifiable, and I think there should be some type of a fine that goes to the person that is responsible for allowing that shopping cart off their premises, whether it be Stop and Shop, Market Basket, or any of these other organizations, because they can put locks on these so they can't move them from the property. And that way they wouldn't be able to get them into the neighborhoods. And I think that's a real problem. And I know it's a problem in the area I represent. I see them all over the place, and I see them now in the waterway down there that allows the water to flow out during a heavy rainstorm. So I think that's something that we should look at and the mayor should look at with regard to making sure that there's a substantial penalty for those carts. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. Do you want the other councilors to finish talking, or do you have a comment on his comment? Do you want to wait till everyone talks? Okay. Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Madam President. I certainly support the motion, but as a point of information, I think we've had a shopping cart ordinance on the books for years. We've charged, I remember at one point we had some 250 or 300 shopping carts, and we were making deals with Stop and Shop and others and it seemed to solve the problem for a while. Now, I know most of these places do have locks on their carriages. Perhaps they need to be retweaked or whatever, and maybe we're not enforcing the fines like we should be, but I think if we check, we're going to find that we have an ordinance on the book, and it is enforceable. So, but I support whatever it will take to keep shopping carts off the street, obviously. But maybe that's where we need to work on them maintaining their locking systems. I guess after a while, they may wear out, and the brake on those carts don't hold anymore, and they need to replace a wheel or something. So maybe it might be just solving it by educating these companies that we're going to start charging them a lot of money. We're going to hold the carts until they pay them. We're going to store them at the DPW yard, and they're going to have to pay these fines. And so I think that might be a better way to go about this, is trying to educate them as that we're going to be really enforcing the ordinance strictly, and they better get on repairing whatever they have to repair to make these carts lock so they don't leave the premises. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. And as a point of information, before I move over to this side, the clerk did confirm that there is an ordinance on the books, so we'll have to look into the enforcement of that. Counselor Guanasso.
Thank you, Madam President. Certainly for years, we've been debating this issue, and it's all too long. Nothing brings down a city more than a blighted truck or a cart left about unattended, and they leave them in any place in the city. Wherever they decide they're going to stop, that's where they stop. And I think it's a matter of enforcement. I think really that when the individual, and I brought this up before, and I got snickers from it, but the individual that's walking down the street with this shopping cart is really a criminal based on the fact that they're stealing. So we should cite that individual, give them a fine, and they'll never do it again. And even if we can't do it, we got to find an ordinance that makes it doable, because we have to stop this. It's making our city so blighted, and it brings us down so much. We can do all the beautification we want throughout the properties, and I have a couple of motions here that's going to try to help in that vein. But to see these shopping carts abandoned about with no regard for wherever they leave it is a disgrace to all of us. And it's an embarrassment to us who sit here in passing judgment for our community, allowing it to happen. So we should bring it to the proper authorities to enforce that ordinance. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor.
Why are you
Counselor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Madam President. I can't agree with Councilor Zambuto as much as what he said tonight, because he's absolutely correct. And I know we'd like to see it. I know that Suffolk Downs does have a locking system on the ground, but unfortunately, as the carriages break for Target and Stop and Shop, when they buy new ones, the brakes are not on there. So I think it's something that we have to advise all the folks that have these locking systems installed that they have to maintain them and keep them rolling. I know Stop and Shop has a company that drives around and picks up carts all over the city. And they know exactly where to go now, because they know who takes them just about and where they leave them. And I know Big Lots has a company that they hired to pick up their carts. Now, I text this company on a regular basis in my neighborhood because they're all over the place. And Target does it as they have the availability of a pickup truck to go get them. So I think it's something that we should have the mayor send letters to all these companies in the city. And also, we should send a note to the site plan review committee, who goes over projects that involve these shopping districts, to remind them that we want to force these people to put these locking systems in and have them installed before or during the time they're doing a construction of a new marketplace. So that's where I would go with this, and I thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Morbido.
Thank you. I'm all for keeping the carriages off the street and leaving them in the parking lot. But my only question is, would this replace our current ordinance? Does this, if a business implements this locking system, does it let them off the hook? Because there are hacking systems now that people, they're online, and that's one of the issues I remember being in retail, that people can hack in. It's a quick hack into the system where people can unlock the carriage just by using their mobile phone. So these are things we want. There's always a way around something. So I guess I'm looking at more of how do we enforce it? We can't enforce it right now. Okay, we have a lock-in system, but if everyone has a lock-in system, eventually someone's going to find a way out. You can't have the 16-year-old cart boy or the whoever, the woman, older gentleman, whoever the cart person is, you can't have them chasing people out of the parking lot saying, hey, come back with my carriage, you know? It just doesn't work that way. In the real world, people are ruthless, people are angry, people are walking long distance. They'll go full speed with that carriage of groceries and just walk out that parking lot. You want to put a locking system around the parking lot? That's fine, I'm all for it. But what do we do when they find a way to unlock the system? Because there are tools of doing it, ways of doing it.
Thank you, Counselor. And if I may, just another point of information, I don't believe Counselor McKenna's motion is to replace that. It would be in addition to. So a hacked cart is no different than a cart without a lock. So if anything, this is an extra security to help us further enforce the motion that's already on the books. Counselor McKenna, I know you had some final commentary before we vote on this.
Yes, thank you. I loved Councilor Zambuto's thought to hold the cart hostage, the city to hold the cart hostage until, because I know it adds up. I think a cart is $150 or $200 a piece. It used to be $1,000. Well, refurbished, it's less, but I think, it just makes the city look impoverished. And when people are coming by, they say, oh, Revere, oh, look at Revere, with the carts all over the place. So I love your motion, your thought, Councilor Zambuto, but I do think, Councilor Powers, I did put a motion in 6 months ago to fine them, find each cart $25. Maybe that's not enough, but I think the city needs to get tough. I really do. And they shouldn't die in the water.
Thank you, Counselor. We're going to hopefully vote on it this evening.
Maybe we have to increase the fine for carts that are found in specific areas, like, if somebody's throwing 2 or 3 carts in a ditch, and the Phragmites is growing around it, it certainly is impeding the water going out the way it should. Thank you, Madam President.
So I believe we're talking about 2 different issues, Counselor. So let's take up the issue on the floor, and then if the council wishes to revisit the ordinance, they can put that in as a separate motion to revise the existing ordinance. So let's take up this tonight, and then if anyone wants to, which I'm assuming Councilor McKenna will, look at the ordinance and make any revisions to the ordinance, we can put that on a different meeting. But at the moment, on Councilor McKenna's motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered. Calendar item number 28.
Motion presented by Councilor McKenna that the mayor request MassDOT to eliminate the no turn on red restriction at the intersection of Revere Beach Parkway and Winthrop Avenue. Prior to the reconstruction and reconfiguration of the traffic lights in Winthrop Avenue Bridge project, traffic did not back up. The restriction has been causing major traffic congestion and difficulties in merging onto Winthrop Avenue. Councilor Zambuto is being marked as recused from the discussion on this matter.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Madam President. So this light has been an issue since I've been a councilor. The light causes havoc. It backs up the right lane all the way past the ice skating rink. People get really impatient. They cut off people to get in line to go to the right. People are taking a no right turn. No, it's a no left turn on Vinyl Street and cutting over oncoming traffic. For a while, the police were there, they were ticketing, but not anymore. So before the bridge was repaired, there was no light there, and traffic was flowing freely. Now it's just backed up, it's bottlenecked, and I really think that the DOT should look at it and take it away. You could put signage on the on the street with arrows showing that you gotta keep in the lane, keep it right lane, whatever. But I think the no turn on red should go. Thanks.
Any other counselors?
Madam Chairman.
Counselor.
Madam President. I have no problem with this. I know it backs up traffic during the coming home traffic at between 4 and 6:30. I wouldn't even have an objection to do the same thing what they did at Bell Circle, to allow a right on red after a stop. It seems to work. I know in a circle it gets a little difficult because people want to do what they want to do, no matter what the rules are. But maybe this is an option that can be looked into, that once the people stop, then they can proceed. So I'm just, I know I was involved in the reconstruction of the bridge very closely, and it's a 10-second delay that allows traffic coming from Winthrop Avenue, from Broadway, to proceed on to Revere Beach Parkway. So they felt, when I talked to them, they felt that it was a public safety problem, that if they allowed the traffic to just flow onto the Revere Beach Parkway at the same time that the vehicles coming from Winthrop Avenue were proceeding. So we can ask them, but, may want to see if we can compromise and do a right on red after stop. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other counselors? Councilor McKenna, do you wish this to go to the Traffic Commission, or do you want to vote on it this evening? We can call it to a vote. On Councilor McKenna's motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 29, motion presented by Councilor Guanasso, that the mayor request the state to cut the grass and clean the debris on the median strip on American Legion Highway from Revere Street to Brown Circle.
Councilor Guanasso.
Madam President, based on the fact that we're doing such a great job on the area where on Squire Road, the median strip is under our control, it seems like the state has forgotten us. Every so often, we have to remind them to cut the grass. Understandingly so, that there is a bumper guard that goes right through the middle of this median strip. I think, in all fairness, I would like to add an addendum to this particular item. I'd like to modify it by saying that they also cut it now, and in the very near future, they take into their consideration to cement the whole island, because they can't adequately get at the grass that's underneath the portion where the guardrail is. So in order to effectively keep it clean for our community, put cement. And I don't think it's a very costly thing, and in the long run, it'll save the state money. So I would like that added as modification to this particular motion,
Thank you, Councilor.
and I hope the council approves it.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I can't agree with Councilor Guanasso any more than he already said, but I would just like to make an addendum, if I could, to also extend it from Brown Circle down to Bell Circle. We're in a catch-22 here, because what's happening is the grass, the weeds are like 3 feet high, but the kids have stopped crossing the street to walk in the median strip because of it. So, but I would like to extend it to Mahoney Circle, if he would agree to that.
Well, on that basis, Councilor, and through the chair, I'm concerned about, that's a very large median strip there, and that might be more cost to the state. I would like to see this get done first, and then we go on to that, because this is a much smaller area. We'll clean that area up so nicely. But if you give them too big a project, they're only going to deny it. So I ask the indulgence of the council if we can get this particular area done, and then we go forward with that, the next event.
Honestly, if I may, Madam President, through you to Councilor, honestly, I don't believe they're going to do it. I don't think they will they'll cut it before they put the concrete down. And I would rather see it cut now.
Then leave out your portion
If
that
I
you
may,
asked.
Councilor, I had the floor and I didn't interrupt you. Thank you. I would rather see the grass cut now. and then ask for the concrete to be put down after the fact. Because right now, that's part of my ward and part of Council Powers' ward, coming down the American Legion Highway. And I think, we want it beautified as much as anything else also. But I, would like to see the cutting of all the grass there. If you don't agree to adding it to it, I would ask that a verbal motion be accepted following this to have the MassDOT cut the grass between Revere Street and Mahoney Circle. Thank you.
That's the point I make. Cut the grass is no problem at all, and I asked for that. But I want cement to be on the portion from Brown Circle to Revere Street.
Do you have
That's the only portion I object to. I don't object to them cutting the grass. Obviously, I want that to happen.
So if I may, Counselor, we'll vote on your motion as amended to include cutting the grass at Brown and Bell Circle and cementing Brown Circle, and we'll allow him to put in his verbal motion after.
Yeah,
Madam President, I'd
absolutely.
like to also make an amendment to that, to clean up the area be on 1A and the intersection of Revere Street and Oak Island Street and 1A also. Not a big deal. For a crew out there, they do it in half a day. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, on Counselor Guanasso's motion as amended. All in favor? So the motion as amended is to include cutting the grass at Brown and Bell Circles and the portion of 1A that Counselor Powers mentioned, and following, and Oak Island Street, and following that, cementing Brown Circle in any areas that cannot be cleaned or trimmed properly.
Point of information, I think you're diluting my particular motion, to be honest with you. There's an opportunity for everybody to get on board here, and certainly, I think you're watering down a situation I think that should be cleaned up, and that's my objection. I want the whole city to be clean.
Absolutely, you just have to approach the podium and state your name and address for the record, and you can speak.
Pat Melchiano, Sagamore Street. I'm so against cementing something. I mean, Revere's already getting too city-like with all the traffic and buildings and stuff. Cementing it would make it look so business-like. Why don't you, Revere is so into dedicating things to people. Why don't we, adopt a strip? I think, they do that in Florida. I mean, a particular
You missed the
area,
point.
you
The
just
point
adopt-
is that there's a
It's got to
dumper.
be nice and grass and
There's a
pretty.
guardrail across the middle of it.
Yeah.
You can't properly maintain it.
Well, it's up to you to enforce the guys to maintain it.
Oh,
It should be
okay.
maintained.
All right.
Don't just,
Thank
just
you,
like,
guys.
just
We're not going back and forth.
just like the cars.
Mowing the grass,
They have
it's
to
not
be
that big of a
enfor-
deal.
It has to be enforced.
Excuse
but-
me,
What?
I'm speaking. You're just,
Oh,
you're yelling
oh,
at the
I'm
council.
sorry.
This is not a back and forth. We're talking about mowing the lawn under a guardrail. That's the issue that we're talking about right now. So,
So,
does
are
anyone
we-
else have any questions about mowing the lawn under the guardrail? No? Okay, seeing and hearing none, since there was an objection to the amendment, let's put Councilor Guanasso's motion as amended to include cleaning the grass and debris along Bell and Brown Circle, and following the cleaning of both circles, cementing the area that cannot be maintained under the guardrail. We're not going to cement all the grass, we just want to take care of the areas that they cannot properly mow or weed whack. I'll allow other councilors to put any other verbal motions for their areas they would like cleaned up after. On Councilor Guanasso's motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered. Councilor Novoselsky, do you have a subsequent motion? Wonderful. Councilor Powers, do you have a subsequent motion?
Substitute motion was to allow for the cleaning at the intersection of 1A and Revere Street,
Okay?
and also the Oak Island Street and 1A. And those areas there are areas where traffic stops and people throw cigarettes out the windows, they empty their ashtrays, and I mean, it's something that has to be cleaned, and it's not a big deal. Pardon me, Councilor Patch?
Thank you, Councilor Powers.
It's not a big deal, and it's something that should be done. It sends a message to people that drive through our city. And you go down to Mills Avenue, and European Auto Body down there maintains that wonderfully down there. They have a landscaper that comes in and does all the work, and there's no reason the state can't get on the ball and clean up those areas where they should. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. On Councilor Powers' verbal motion. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered. Calendar item 30.
Calendar item number 30, motion presented by Councilor Rizzo, that the mayor appear before the city council to discuss missing or unaccounted water meters for potentially 120 homes.
Councilor Rizzo.
Thank you very much, Madam President. This was another situation that the city is now, I guess, having to deal with. What troubles me the most about this is that I had residents calling me and asking me about an employee of the city who was, I was told, escorted off the property and put on unpaid, and I've since found out was placed on unpaid administrative leave because of a problem with meters that I guess were now being categorized as, serial numbers not matching or whatever. I don't know the story, which is really the problem. We don't know the story. We're members of the city council. Why do we have to be finding out from residents across the city that issues are happening here in City Hall? I mean, that's unbelievable to me. I mean, at bare minimum, the city council should have been notified right away. It was several days before an email actually came out, and that was at the prompting, I believe, of Councilor Patch, who had a similar situation as me and being questioned and asked about, what's going on. We don't know what's happening here. And, I think that really we need to be included here in the loop. It's embarrassing as an elected official in this city to have to get information second and third and fourth hand from people who don't even, people who just live out there who hear these stories. It makes absolutely no sense to me. And, so for me, I mean, obviously you want to know what happened to these water meters and why they weren't in sync. This is not something that's ever happened before. I know we have an ongoing investigation into parking meters. We don't know what happened there. We have now water meters that we're having to think about and talk about and figure out what happened there. But again, what really upsets me is having to find out from the general public that something is going on in City Hall. Something is just not right with this picture. And I don't know, maybe I'm the only city councilor who feels that way, but I'm going to be honest with you. I couldn't imagine not putting the city council in the loop in any situation that, would have to do with a department head or with any misappropriation or possibility of misappropriation. So, I think this is something we need to get to the bottom of. And I would like a better understanding of when the administration is going to include the city council with, in things that happen in the city, so that we don't have to hear from residents outside stopping you at a local establishment saying, geez, what happened? I heard what happened up at City Hall. It's a complete embarrassment. So that's all I have to say right now, Madam President. I don't know if any other councilors care or would like to speak on it, but it bothered me. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Rizzo. Councilor Zambudo?
Thank you, Madam President. I think I got an email on September 11th. How long before that did this happen? I mean, I didn't hear it on the street. I heard it from the email I got. Now, maybe I'm not in touch with the average citizen. I thought I was, but I didn't know anything about this until I received it. Well, actually, I'm being a little disingenuous. I heard it the day before I got this email from the mayor, because I happened to be at City Hall. But did this happen long before that, or
Point of information?
Yeah.
I received the same email as well.
So does somebody have information that this was known about a long time before we knew
So
it?
point of information, point of information is this. In the email itself, it says there's rumors and this and that going on. So obviously, they had heard that there's rumors out there. And then obviously, it went on in the email to say someone was placed on administrative leave. So I don't have the exact date. Maybe I see John Viarella here. He can tell you when the person was placed on administrative leave. He must have the date. But I mean, if you want to go around and talk about, well, I received an email, all right, fine, then let's just put it aside. No big deal again. Let's move on. Calendar item number 31, I guess.
Point of information. Point of information.
Councilors, hold on, I'm speaking.
Can I state?
No, I have the floor. Can you please address the council, Mr. Viarella, with the date that person was placed on leave before we continue our conversation?
Hi, John Viarella, HR Director. I do not have the specific date in front of me, but it's not a matter of weeks or months or anything like that. It would probably be, a day or so.
If you could please get that information to us, that would be very helpful.
I'll do that.
Since so many people just bang the gavel at once, I'm going to hold this in an orderly fashion. We're going to start at one side of the council. I know everyone wants to speak on this, and we'll go down. We're not going to make this a big issue. We're going to discuss the facts. Of course, the council should be included in any issues like this, and it's important that we discuss it, but it's more important that we get the mayor's office before the council so that we get the facts then debated amongst ourselves with no information, which we do need, so it's a good point to the councilor to put it before us. Anyone on this side? All right, Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Madam President. I agree, and I understand Councilor Rizzo's frustration. When things like this with the sensitive nature come up, it would be nice to have that information communicated more quickly. I personally, like Councilor Zambudo had mentioned, I believe the day before this email came out that we were given some information, and of course it was stated it was confidential, so I'm not going to discuss any of the details of it. Was given a little bit of a heads up that there was a situation where an employee, there was an incident, whatever it may be. And I think some of the questioning came because there was some rumors that someone was arrested or taken out in handcuffs, and I think that's where the second level of communication came out, that this was to refute that, and it was untrue. But regardless, I would like to get some information from, if Mr. Viarella can give us, and again, like Councilor Rizzo mentions, important communication like this should be communicated more quickly to the council especially. Thank you.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Madam President. I read it on Facebook, actually, probably about 3 days before I got the email from Mayor Arrigo, or it could be 4 days, I don't know. And then a couple of people called me and asked me what was going on, and I didn't know, and I couldn't tell them. So that's my version of it. Thank you.
Councilor Morabito.
Thank you. Let me just, for clarification, Councilor Zambudo was questioning whether anyone else received an email. So I simply made my point of information that I received one as well. With that being said, I understand my colleague's frustration, but I'd kindly ask him not to direct that toward his fellow members.
Well said. Any, Councilor Novoselsky, and then we'll go down to...
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I was notified by the mayor the day before, and I encouraged him to send out the email. And I said, our body should know, and they're entitled to know, being leaders of the city along with he. And we have to realize that, these meters were the outdoor water meters, not regular water meters that we all know that are in our houses. These are the special meters that people use for outdoor watering and washing their cars, filling their pools, and then they get a credit at the end of the year for not having to go through the sewage system. So that's what it's all about, and I don't know how much information or investigation is going on. The employee has since resigned, and I think there's still an investigation going on that how many meters were actually involved. So
Thank you,
that's
Councilor.
what I know.
Councilor Patch?
Thank you, Madam President. I'll tell you my version of the story. I've also read it on Facebook on Friday, I believe, I don't know if it was last Friday, that an incident happened in the water department Thursday. And it had, and I had people calling me after that concerning that. They had them in taken out in handcuffs. They had them, the police was present, and it was all kinds of stories going on. So that was Friday, so it was too late to call City Hall, so the mayor. So I waited Monday. I waiting for a statement, at least an email or a statement from the mayor's office. None came. So Tuesday, I called the mayor's office. I talked to the secretary. I wanted to talk to the mayor. I got Bob Mara on the phone, and he explained the story. And I told him how upset I was because I'm hearing it from people on Facebook, from the phone, on the street, and I just think that a matter of this importance. I mean, we just went through a whole deal with the other meter problem. I mean, that was the newspapers and TVs and everything else was thrown at us at the council, which I don't even understand why it came before the council anyways. But that is it. I mean, I just think that we should be informed with something important as this matter and given the details. Bob Mara was very good. He told me the story, and I didn't think he was going to put out a statement, the mayor, but he did that day. I was told a statement wasn't going to be put out, but a statement did come out that night. That's my version of the story. Thank you.
Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Madam President. There's been a couple of situations that have come up. One about water meters, and then the other one about parking meters. I think that any time something like that raises its ugly head, I think that the mayor, whoever the mayor is, should call for a meeting with the city council behind closed doors and explain the situation. Keep us apprised of everything that's going on. And also make sure that when he does that, no names are thrown out there. Our councilors are cautioned not to throw names out there in the street. Don't go home and tell your wife or your sister or your brother-in-law, because, to me, that's a rush to judgment. You're convicting someone before they've even had a day in court. May be true, may not be true, but I would suggest that that's an important thing for the mayor to do, and I would hope that he would do that in the future. I don't like to have people come up to me and say, "Well, did you hear about this guy stole this or so and so is doing this?" That's gossip. That's gossip. There was a rumor around the city. We had rumor is an innuendo is terrible. There was a rumor around the city when the project that's going up on Calumet and Beachland Avenue burnt down. Well, somebody set it on fire. That was the rumor. I haven't heard anything substantial from anyone that could actually say that definitively. As far as I'm concerned, no one set it on fire, because I don't have any reason to believe that unless I heard it from a police
Councilor
report.
Powers?
Yeah.
Can we stick to the motion?
Oh, no, I am. This is the point I'm trying to make, is that this stuff shouldn't be out there bouncing around on social media. It hurts families and it hurts people. Thank you.
Well taken. Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Madam President. I found out by city employees, actually, which is kind of troubling. Then it went to the internet, then it went to another level altogether. And at the very simplest part of government, communication should be availed to this body. I hate to say that on many occasions that is not the case. And I don't know how many times we can sit here and plead for that. There will come to a point where people will stop banging their fist on the table and we'll still get nothing. And I think, something needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. It looks like all the counselors have spoken. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this?
Pat Melchiona, Sagamore Street. You said that you got the email on around September 11th, and we knew about this September 6th. So I agree that you should be embarrassed that you didn't know anything. And we too are embarrassed when you don't know anything. So I do blame the transparency of who's not including you in this information, because we knew it as facts, and you guys didn't know it yet for at least, I said 7th, and you got the email on the 11th.
Mr. Virella, do you have any comments?
Just one item of note. I'm not sure procedurally in a municipality what the communications are like for operational issues. The one thing I will speak about, though, are sensitive employee matters. And what I try to do is keep that to the tightest circle possible, which is why I generally don't advise the mayor to tell a large group of people what has happened to a particular employee. I'm perfectly happy to answer those questions privately on an individual basis, but we just don't want to make it a matter of policy to extend, sensitive employee issues to a larger circle.
Madam President,
Counselor?
with all due respect, your commentary to privacy it doesn't prevail in this case because it was known before the council was told, number one. Number two, in many institutions, both government as well as corporate, you're right, there is a small group that is actually given that information. That would be the executive body and the legislative body. That's how they do it, at the federal level. That's how they do it at the state level. And I would believe that's how they should do it here at the municipal level. Maybe I'm crazy.
Okay.
Thank you. If there are no other comments, I just have one quick comment, if I may. I definitely agree with my colleagues that there needs to be a better sense of a connection between both bodies. I think that the email was a good start to that. However, it was a little late. I will say that I'm not on Facebook, which I'm very happy about, because Facebook should never be law. No one should be getting their information on Facebook, because the reality of it is it's not fact. It never will be. It's hearsay, just as anything else. I take fact as a memo from the mayor's office, a memo from the police department, a memo from the fire department. When I get a communication from a formal body of the city, that is what I take as fact. However, I appreciated the effort, and I think that it was well intended. Was it late? I don't know when the issue started, so when I get the date from Human Resources, I'll be able to make that judgment call. But in any case, the City Council should be made aware of any issues, regardless of the size, if it's small or large, as soon as humanly possible, because we need to know what's happening. Because the reality of it is, as things get out, as they do, whether it be through social media or a friend or family, we need to be able to answer questions. And many times they are sensitive, and they are regarding personal issues or criminal investigations or things we can't discuss. And in those cases, it is not our place to discuss them. But in situations where it is very important that we're knowledgeable about them, because at the end of the day, that's our job. So that's all I have to say. If there are no other questions on Councilor Rizzo's motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 31, motion presented by Councilor Patch that the mayor requests Community Development and DPW to install new sidewalks on the northbound side of Salem Street from, and this was edited to read Cooper Terrace in place of North Marshall Street, to the Saugus line. Further, that the DPW cut back the overgrowth because pedestrians have to walk in the street at this section.
Councilor Patch.
Mr. Chairman, President. It actually speaks for itself. There is a part of the sidewalk when people walk down from Salem Street to Cliftondale and back. There is a section there that comes after Cooper Terrace that has no sidewalk. So that really speaks for itself. But if I could, Madam President, I would like to, I got some information today about North Revere, and I'd just like to use this forum I got a call today from the manager of Overlook Ridge. He got a permit to blast on the Revere side starting on Wednesday. So they will start blasting up in North Revere starting on Wednesday. They previously was blasting on the Malden side, so now they're back on the Revere side. So just to make you aware that that's what you're hearing. It's going to be, they're going to be stop blasting. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? On Councillor Patch's motion as amended, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Madam President,
Councillor.
would it be possible to suspend rules and take up calendar item number 16 and 17? There's some residents that have been sitting here all night, and it would be helpful to them, I think, if we could just go back with Councilor Rotundo here now and...
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
I
take
know
those-
the councillor just arrived, so I didn't want to hold his committee without
Yep.
him being present. I wanted to get through the next 1, 2, 3, 4 motions, or 3 motions before we did that, but, because there was so few left. But if it's your will, we can call it out of order, then go back to the last 3 motions, and then the meeting's pretty much complete. So at this time, do you have to suspend rules if it was passed? So on suspension of rules, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered. And at this time, we will take up Councillor...
Zoning Subcommittee report.
Councillor Rotundo's zoning subcommittee report.
Thank you for your patience. Unfortunately, I had work, and then subsequently had to go to the doctor, so I really appreciate you suspending the rules. That said, I think what I would like to do, Madam President, is on 18-231 is we'll have that remain in committee. And there's going to be some more work that we're going to have to do with the Airbnb ordinance, and we have to speak to the city solicitor.
Understood.
As far as 18-249, an ordinance further amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Revere regarding limited industrial districts. We passed that unanimously, and I'd like to vote that out favorably tonight. Subsequently, 18-269 was also voted out favorably, and this is regarding lots up on Morris Street. And Madam Clerk, if we have any conditions for that, I don't believe we do on either one of them.
There was just favorable recommendations from the
McKenna,
planning board
that's
were
right.
submitted.
So if we can take them up.
Thank you, Councillor. So we'll take them up in order. So first, I'll ask for a roll call on calendar item 18-249. Ordered on a second reading. Ordered on a third and final reading. Roll call.
Roll call for engrossment and ordainment. Shall the city council approve an ordinance further amending the zoning ordinances of the city of Revere relative to the limited industrial district? Councilor Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rizzo.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotundo.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Janito.
Yes.
Yes, the ordinance has been engrossed and ordained.
Next is calendar item.
Madam President, I'd like to ask for a reconsideration in the hopes that it does not prevail.
Perfect. We're still under suspension of rules, so while we're under suspension, on reconsideration with hopes that it does not prevail. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered. 18-269. We'll call the roll. Ordered on a second reading. Ordered on a third and final reading. Madam Clerk.
Roll call for engrossment and ordainment. Shall the city council approve an ordinance further amending the zoning map of the city of Revere by changing the zoning of Lot 1 Morris Street and Lot 17 Teresa Ave from RB to HB? Councilor Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Patch.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers. Yes. Councilor Rizzo.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotundo.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Janito.
Yes.
Madam
Yes,
President.
the ordinance is engrossed and ordained.
Reconsideration and it won't prevail. Thank you.
While we're under suspension, we ask for reconsideration with hopes that it does not prevail. All in favor? All opposed? So ordered. This time we'll return to the regular order of business, and we'll take up calendar,
32.
we skipped one of Councilor Rotundo's motions, so why don't we go to 26 and then we'll go back? So Councilor Rotundo, we skipped through any motions you were on, so we'll start with your motion 18294, and then we'll jump back to calendar item 32.
Calendar item number 26, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo, that the City Council go on record as supporting question 1.
Very simply, it's going to protect the patients of this community, of this state, and quite frankly, I think it's something that would benefit everybody. Currently, these ratios are at the General and at the Brigham, and all it would be expanding it throughout the state. It's truly a no-brainer.
Councilor McKenna?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I cannot support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Keith?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm still, Councilor Rotundo, he's a nurse, and I take his word very strongly in his opinion because this is his profession. I've gotten such mixed reviews from both sides. I haven't formed an opinion yet, so I would abstain from this myself because I'm not sure which way I am going to head just yet, and I want to get some more education on this. Thank you.
Madam President.
Councilor Novoselsky first, and then I'll jump back to you.
Thank you, Madam President. I agree with Councilor, what's your name again? No, McKenna. Councilor Keith. I have, my wife is in the hospital, and I have been talking to nurses there. And I have had mixed reviews, and from what I'm hearing from both sides is if you're a management nurse, you want it to happen. If you're not a management nurse and you're a nurse that's down in the trenches, you don't want it to happen.
Point of
I don't
information.
like, if I may, Counselor, you will have your chance. You've had your chance before. Thank you. And I just don't believe that government should be controlling our hospitals. I think they control enough. And this deals with the health and safety of everybody. And it's an occupation, and like the council said, and I can't see us voting on this and taking a stand on this. It's not our position. Let the people decide, and let the Secretary of State put out his pros and cons for the questions when they come out in November, and then let them decide at that. And we shouldn't be a body that encourages a ballot question like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Batch?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to say I'm going to vote present on this issue if it comes to a vote. Thank you.
Any other councilors wishing to speak? Councilor Ganasso?
Thank you, Madam President. Last week, the Boston Globe had a very informative article in reference to this, and I read it in detail. It was quite lengthy, and it was quite amusing to me because I was determined and led by the advertising going on the media, the amount of advertising going on for the no part of it. And then when I started to read it in depth, I started to realize that maybe that's not the right decision. So my result tonight is that I'm going to allow that to the voter to decide. I think I'm going to vote for it, but I don't want to take that and try to sway anybody. I just want the voters should make their determination.
Councilor Zambudo, then Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you, Madam President. I take the stand of, some of my colleagues that I don't think it's appropriate for this body to take a stand one way or the other, no matter what our personal views are. I don't think it's our place to be taking a stand on something like this. So I'm not even sure how I'm voting on this yet, but I'm gonna educate myself more on it, and I think that the citizens out there should do the same and make an informed decision. But it's not going to come from me to tell you what to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Rotundo?
Thank you. What I kind of find funny is when I hear people misled, and they say this is a government issue. In actuality, it's the union that's putting this forward. It's the Massachusetts Nurse Association. And in fact, I brought this same issue before this body in 2011, and it was voted on. But that said, this is an issue in which management nurses do not want this. They want no. It is the nurse that's in the field, that's taking care of the 2 critically ill patients, that wants this. And if you want to study up on it, I'd suggest that you look up nurse-patient ratios. The New England Medical Journal of Medicine, JAMA, they have written extensively about this. I want you to look at Newsweek, where they assess and rate hospitals. And one of the criteria is your nurse-to-patient ratio. And they cause that as a very major point as to why you should have higher nurse-to-patient ratios. That's why it's within that guideline. But that said, I have no problem withdrawing this motion if my colleagues feel reticent not to vote for it. I understand that. But I would tell you, there's 10 states currently trying to do it. Australia, Canada, England has nurse-patient ratios already. We're just trying to make it safer for the people here in America, in particular in Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Powers?
Thank you, Madam President. Actually, I had 2 calls today, one for, one against. And the conversation and the criteria that they offered me was very limited. And at that time, I made a decision that I am going to pass on this. I think we still have until November to look at it, and that's something that I'm going to do very thoroughly to find out exactly what this means to patients, what it means to staff, and what it means to management. And I think these are all things that we really have to look at. And with that said, I'll pass on the vote.
Thank you. Counselor Rotundo has withdrawn the motion. However, I think this is a good opportunity to just, encourage everyone to read on the ballot questions. The state does publish a list of pros and cons, so make yourself familiar with it, educate yourself on the issues, and know why you're voting a certain way. So thank you, and that will be withdrawn. This time we'll take up number 32, calendar item 18300.
Motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the mayor request the parking director and DPW superintendent to conduct a review of the parking regulations and determine if, by way of audit, violations are being issued for signage that is installed incorrectly. In addition, that the mayor request the parking director to provide the city council with a report that includes the amount of parking revenue the incorrect signage has generated over the last 2 months.
Madam President?
Counselor.
I do want to amend it where it says signage that is broken, missing, or installed incorrectly. So, for example, I've been speaking to many people, and they're quite concerned that in some places they've been receiving tickets and there's no signage there. And I've asked them to produce that information. So what I'm trying to find out basically is if we have any correlation with this from the clerk. If we can find out if that's actually the case, and if it is, then are we generating a revenue from it incorrectly?
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors? No comment?
Madam President,
Counselor
just
Novoselsky.
a question. How would the parking, director of parking, know which parking tickets or violations have been because of incorrect signage? All his folks do is give the ticket. They don't determine whether it's right or wrong. It's at the hearing.
Well, I'll give you an example. I can say that there's a woman that is on Kimball Avenue, Beach Street, that had $400 worth of tickets in a place that had no sign and kept on getting ticketed. And then had her car towed. And her 6-year-old child couldn't go to school that day. I drove him.
What was the violation that the tickets were written? There was no signage.
They were too close to the corner.
Well, there's a state law that says 20 feet from a intersection. It's a Mass General law.
Right, in the corner
And
of,
it's-
in the corner of Kimball and Beach, where they were, is far beyond the 20 feet. Yeah.
Well, all
So,
she
I
has
mean,
to
like,
do
it's
is
been
appeal
measured.
it. All she has to do is appeal it, and the hearing officer will look into it, and if
Yeah,
it's...
and this
they
predates
got
Mr.
pictures,
Rose,
yeah.
just to kind of
So-
put that out there.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, guys. We won't go into personal issues. We'll allow, the counselors to be resources for any residents that had any issues and get them to the appropriate place. Any other counselors have any questions on this? No? All right, on the motion, all in favor? All opposed? You amended the motion, correct? So on the motion is amended, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered. Calendar item 34.
Motion presented by Councilor Guanasso that the mayor request the building inspector to appear before the city council to explain why the owner of 37, and that should read Tuttle Street in place of Temple Street, has been allowed to have siding in disrepair hanging from his home. In addition, that the building inspector explain why the owner of 35 Tuttle Street has been allowed to have a fence in disrepair leaning against the adjacent property's fence.
Councilor Guanasso.
Well, parked, waiting for the light to change at the intersection of Revere Street and American Legion Highway, you look over to your left, and you'll see siding that's hanging from a home that's been there no less than 6 to 8 years, and certainly a danger of public safety to anybody who might be going or walking in that area if one of those pieces of siding were to get a piece of wind behind it and blow right on them. Not to say the least that the unsightly manner in which its appearance doesn't do any reflection of good to our community. So when the state cements the median strip there, we can also ask our building inspector if he would go down and take a look at that site. And I know I brought it to his attention before, and this is the reason why I bring it to this body's attention tonight, based on the fact that I didn't get any results from it. And then when you go further onto 35 Tuttle Street, you see one fence, and then you see a brown fence leaning against it. And now that's been there for 6 to 8 years. Again, what sort of message does this give out to anybody who's visiting our community? We should be ashamed of ourselves for allowing this to take place. And that's why I asked of the building inspector if there are any laws that would prohibit such a thing occurring, if they would enforce our zoning ordinance. And since the building inspector is the zoning official, he would be the one solely responsible for it. Again, this was brought to their attention, and nothing happened. And a good neighbor who's very keenly watching over our community brought it to my attention again. So at his bequest and on his behalf, and for all those people that travel that area, we want results. And that's very simple in nature. Just get these homeowners to take care of their properties in a fashion that's suitable to all the community. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor. Any other counselors on Counselor Guanasso's motion? On the motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Calendar item number 35, motion presented by Councilors Rizzo and McKenna, that the mayor request the appropriate authority overseeing the work being done on Winthrop Avenue and Revere Beach Parkway in the vicinity of Suffolk Downs and the new development on the former Shaw's site to appear before the city council to discuss workmanship and curb sets.
I'll offer it up to the ward counselor, Vice President McKenna, and then Counselor Rizzo.
Thank you, Madam President. One of the biggest problems, I don't have any problems with the new curbing, but I do have a problem with the bump out going into Beachmont on Winthrop Ave. So I privately inquired about my concerns about the bump out, and I was assured that everything would be fine. The light's going to go in, the light's going to coordinate with the traffic on Winthrop Ave. But there's already a problem. 2 trucks were trying to get by the other day. They were trying to make the turn to go into Beachmont, and traffic was backed up on Revere Beach Parkway, so they couldn't make the turn. It's just so ridiculous. You hire these people for $100,000 to do traffic studies, and they put a bump out. You don't even need a bump out, because HYM's going to do a 30-foot sidewalk, and the distance between the crossing island going across that street is going to be minimal. So it's going to bottle up the traffic there. I'm trying to work with HYM to get a two-lane, free-flowing street so you can go into Beachmont, trying to get the buses off the street so it won't tie up the traffic. And they put this bump out, which is so ridiculous. It's already causing havoc. They got the lines the wrong way. It's very, very narrow. And I just see a major, major problem where traffic is going to build up there. And they said that the lights are only going to be red when pedestrians are crossing. Well, how many pedestrians are coming across the street from Shaw's? So this is, before they put down the cement, I think we should review this and see there's already a problem. I have pictures. I was in back of 2 trucks. I really do think that it's going to limit the flow of traffic. It's going to bottleneck there. It's going to create traffic all the way down to the police station, maybe, above that. So I really think that we should take another look at this. And the other thing, I was told that there was a public meeting on this, and I wasn't aware of it. And, I am the ward councilor, and that's my side, because the other side's Ira's. And I just think I should have been informed what was going on there before they did it. So thank you very much. I'm kind of upset about this whole thing. And I just want to say that I've got a number of calls. A number of Beachmont residents have talked to me about it, and they're very upset. The businesses are upset. So, and it all falls on me. So I want a review of this. I want when the buses are letting the kids out and the buses are going into Beachmont during school hours, during 4, 5, 6, 7 rush hour. I want a review. I don't want you to put the cement down until we have a review. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Rizzo.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I couldn't agree more with Councilor McKenna. This flare-out on Winthrop Ave, it's dangerous and it's unnecessary, and it's already causing problems. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's worth a ride down. And in fact, a couple of Beachmont residents called me who are familiar. They're actually contractors themselves, and even showing the workmanship that's down there. I know Council McKenna had alluded to the fact you didn't have a problem with the curbing and the curb sets, but if you look at them and you have it explained to you by people who understand it, we got grant money down there for this, and part of that grant money included, I don't know why, and I've never seen a private developer get their own traffic signal, but for whatever reason, they were able to get their own traffic signal down there. But in addition to that, we're getting some new curbing and lots of old curbing, used curbing. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, does Revere really need to be a hit-and-run city by these contractors that come in and do this work? It just makes no sense to me. There's got to be some oversight there, and I hope and pray there is, because this really needs to be looked at. The workmanship down there is, at best, suspect, at best. And, when you have... when you have a traffic situation down there like we do oftentimes, especially in the early mornings and in the afternoons, it's already creating some real public safety issues. So I think this needs to be addressed immediately before it goes any further, and I hope the council supports it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Granasso.
Thank you, Madam President. I certainly agree with Councilor McKenna, based on the fact that a couple of weeks ago, the owner of Dimino Sub, who happens to be the closest person to that site, said, how in the possibly can they do this? And then he started to show me how the traffic is moving. And then when Councilor McKenna showed me this evening, a truck trying to traverse that area was actually going on another side of where the white strip was going. So he really couldn't pass without doing something illegal. It doesn't, I know that this concept had to be drawn in an office in Boston. They don't have any vision of being on site and coming up with this concoction because it's completely crazy. And I think that thankfully, Councilor McKenna brought this to light and brought it to the attention to everybody. And I think we have to correct it before it becomes a serious, serious problem. And I do go to that area quite frequently, and they're in pains over there because of how could this possibly be? So thank you, Councilor McKenna, for doing a good job for your community.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rotundo.
I'm just wondering when the city, the various developers in the state are going to start communicating to ensure that we have, appropriate thoroughfares in our community. We're the most inundated in the area, considering that we have close to 500,000 vehicles traverse our city every day. What troubles me is that area is going to be a bigger choke point than we can imagine. And, Councilman McKenna, it's not your fault. It's not your job. I understand you take it seriously, and I understand that, you're a forward thinker. It's not your job. That's a department head within this building. That's their job. It's someone at the state's job. And it needs to be coordinated between the developers, because if not, we're gonna continue to have more problems like this. So we need to get Mr. O'Brien up here and figure out what's going on, and have someone communicate these issues and these needs to the appropriate level of government and get it done fast before someone gets killed. So if we can get that done, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other councilors on the motion? On Councilor McKenna and Rizzo's motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered.
Just noted that Councilor Zambudo was recused from discussion on that matter.
Perfect.
Okay.
At
Late-
this time, we'll go into late motions and late communications.
Late motions, calendar item number 36. This is a motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the following amendment to the zoning ordinances of the City of Revere be ordered to a public hearing. This is regarding the townhouse definition
Madam
within
Clerk,
the zoning ordinance.
Can we strike LI first before we go into that, as we've spoken about?
Do you have the amended?
I just want to remove LI.
Agenda?
No, I don't.
Oh,
So I
okay.
just
So
want to
I
remove
did.
LI from it.
I did. Yep.
So this will be ordered to a public hearing on October 29th. Does anyone have any questions? I look forward to commentary on the 29th.
Calendar item number 37, motion presented by Councilor Rotundo that the City Council award certificates of commendation to the owners of Saffy Market, Kelly's Roast Beef, and the Good Diner for donating food to victims of the Franklin Avenue fire.
Councilor.
Thank you. As we all know, last night there was a tragedy in the city of Revere. And these people needed food. Quite frankly, Ahmed from Safi Market, Danny Sargent from Kelly's Roast Beef, and Sabir, I don't want to say his last name because I'll probably kill it, Abu Gala, were just so generous to providing these people with the food that was there. And you know something? I believe there was somebody else who donated food. Do you remember who that was? You don't? Okay. But when this city, sometimes we fight among ourselves, but when it comes to a tragedy, we stand up and we stand together. And I got to say that these people here stood up for everybody yesterday, and I believe that they should, at the very least, obtain a commendation.
Thank you, Councilor, and we'll try to coordinate this for the next meeting of September 24th. Any councilors? On the motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered. There's one item at the beginning of the meeting when we had our moment of silence. We missed calendar item number 2, so Madam Clerk.
Approval of the journal of the regular meeting of August 27th.
On the motion, all in favor? All opposed? So ordered. There's no further business. Councilor Novoselsky, did you have a point that you wish to make?
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, thank you for the opportunity, and as most people know, this is the season of Jewish holidays, and this is our Jewish New Year. Last year was Rosh Hashanah, last week was Rosh Hashanah, and this Wednesday is Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, and I just want to wish all my Jewish constituents and friends around the city, and whoever else can hear this, Happy New Year, and have a good fast. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Novoselsky. This city council will be adjourned until September 24th. There's no further business this evening. Thank you all and have a wonderful evening.